ready, watch the gate.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's the first video of 2024. It's been a little while since I've put something up on YouTube, but I figured I'd start off the year with my brand new BMX race bike that I've gotten from Chase Bicycles. This is the new 2024 Pro XXL frame and is actually considered a class bike. Now, if you've seen some of my former videos, you know that when I first started out with the BMX racing, I was actually on a Pro XXL cruiser. Well, I've won some races, I've gained a little bit of experience, I've gotten a little bit better, and I'm actually moving up into the intermediate class from the novice class. Well, that means I can no longer be on any size bike I want, because thankfully with the novice class, to build BMX racing, you can kind of use a class bike or you can use a cruiser bike. I've even been up against some guys that have been on mountain bikes and some of the larger big BMX bikes. Well, now because I'm moving up to intermediate, I have to be on more of a traditional 20-inch bike, which means the wheels are a 20-inch wheel and tire size versus the cruiser class, which is traditionally a 24-inch size. Well, because novice class allows you to do anything you want pretty much as far as what bike you ride, and because I'm moving up, of course, I've got to move up in bikes. So I decided to go back to the Chase brand and take a look at what they had for 2024. And then, of course, led me to the Edge bike, which is what I'm on currently with my cruiser class bike. I figured I'd stick with the same bike and just go down to a more traditional 20-inch size bike, or what's considered more of a class bike. This just showed up today, thankfully, in the mail, thankfully all in one piece, I hope. I haven't opened it yet, so I'm going to open it up here for you guys. We're going to take a look at it. We're going to get the initial assembly going, and I'm going to do some final things with it, hopefully get everything tightened up, and then try and get it out to my local track right here at SD BMX Racing, which thankfully being in San Diego, I've got that right in my backyard. And I also have GP BMX pretty close as well, just up in Paris. They're about an hour away, so I'm lucky to be close to two main tracks. And of course, we have the Chula Vista track that's here local. We also have Cactus Park BMX, which is out in Lakeside. So being where I am here in Southern California, I'm lucky to have a few tracks nearby. So let's open this up, let's get into it, let's see what we got. Pull out the old trusty pocket knife, start getting things open. Thankfully, I was able to meet the guy basically right at the door when he showed up. I took the day off so I could actually get this thing and pick it up. Everything, of course, is put together pretty tight and stringent. I have these box staples in here. So, of course, be careful when you're opening this up yourself. You don't have to cut yourself or catch your hand on one of the staples because those definitely hurt. Now, I'm used to putting one of these together already, as I did an unboxing with my initial cruiser. And, of course, this is pretty much boxed the same way. And, of course, Chase makes sure that you have everything that you need in here. Here's your spare parts box, which we're going to get into here in a little bit. Get that over here with my tools. And it looks like everything is pretty much ready to just pull right out of the box like so. Alright, so thankfully I've got the BMX stand right here, or the bike stand here that I can put everything on and I can start putting things together. Let me see if I can find the seat. Let me get this to where I can get this on the bike stand a little bit better, and we can start putting things together here. Get this slid into place. Put this here. I'm gonna have to tighten up the seat post a little bit while we do this. Hopefully you guys can see everything okay. There we go. Okay, I've got this up on the stand. We can move this box out of the way. A couple of things in there that we'll have to get back to here in a bit. Now, of course, Chase and BMX Race Group does a real good job of packaging everything, and essentially you're just doing the final assembly on everything. You really don't have too much to put together. Now, this is the slate color. There's two color options for this year. There's this color here, which is kind of a blue-gray color, and of course there's their kind of white-grayish color, which is called their cement color. I chose to go with this color just for something a little bit different and unique because I already have my cruiser bike, which is white, for any of you that have seen that. So let me see if I can get some of these zip ties loose. Start getting things cut and taken off. This always takes a moment. Here we go. Start taking some of the stuff off. Some of the simple things that protect things like your chain, your bottom brackets, your cranks, parts of the frame. Probably going to need some scissors for this, which I have. It's always good to have some scissors nearby. All right, start getting all this taken off here. I'm really get a good look at this bike. This is just a really cool color with sort of this blue-gray color that they've come out with. Now, the slate color they've had on some of their other products that they offer, and I just really like the way it looks. So for me, it was kind of a no-brainer when I was looking at getting another bike to start getting more deeper into this. Be real careful because you got the front wheel tied into the front fork. This will, of course, all need to come off real carefully here. Let's get all this disassembled. No, I'm trying to be as careful as I can with this. There we go. All right, front wheel is off. Now, handlebars apart. Now this is the Pro XXL frame, as I previously mentioned. It has the same dimensional top tube on it as my Cruiser. So if you're someone who's potentially looking at getting into a class bike and you've been on a Cruiser for a little while, because you're like me, you're starting to step things up a little bit, and essentially you want to try and find something that's close to the same dimension. Usually with the class bikes, there's a number of different frame sizes available. Thankfully, Chase does all the way up to what's considered a Pro XXL, which is a 21.5-inch top tube. It's the same dimension on the top tube on their Pro XL cruiser bike. So you can come pretty close if you're a tall guy like me, or I need to have a little bit more of a bigger top tube to where you find something that'll fit you, hopefully. See if this will come off the stem here. This will take a little bit of finagling. See if we can balance the, we'll put the bars here for a moment. All right, let's get this off. Get the stem unbuild. There we go. As I said, most of the assembly is already pretty much done for you. So essentially you're taking the padding off from the shipping, you're doing a little bit of the initial assembly, and then of course you want to make sure you go over everything with a good Allen wrench and just make sure everything's tight before you go and take the bike out for a few test rides. Let me see if I can get the, let me move this camera back a little bit more so you guys can see things a little better. Hopefully you guys can see the front end of the bike a little bit better here. Let's get the seat cover off. Now essentially the only tools you really need for this is maybe a decent set of Allen wrenches. It's always good to have a good set of tools whenever you're working with anything with a bike, be it a mountain bike, a kid's bike for fun, a BMX race bike, a road bike. Always have a good set of tools available for you. I've gone through over the last about year or so and just gotten different tools as I've gone through and had to do things on my cruiser bike where I've changed out the gearing a little bit. I put some other parts on it to help lighten it up. You guys have seen those videos, which eventually this will probably go down the same way, just as I make changes for a little bit more rider comfort, a little bit more as I get used to the bike, things like gearing, that sort of thing to help with the speed and acceleration. Let me see if I can get these handlebars set up right here. Let's see. Should be as simple as 4 bolts. Get this back on where I need to put it. I can get this out of the way. We'll do this. Alright. So like I said, it's good to have a good set of Allen wrenches. You can pick up a set of these at like your local Home Depot, Lowe's, or just hardware store with a bunch of different sizes on them. Usually you can get a metric set or you can get an American set. It's good to have both just in general if you're a guy like me who's constantly working on stuff. That way you can never be without it. This should just be as simple as loosening the bolts on the stem and then putting the handlebars right into place. See if we can get this going. Yep, this is going to take just a minute. Get all this off of here. I always like to do everything by hand, so don't ever think that you have to do things with power tools because it's a lot easier to just do it by hand. Let me see here. All right. Hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing. Try and make the camera adjustments for you as I do this a little bit more. So, that's why it's good to do everything by hand in case something drops. It's real easy to grab. These are on here a little tight, but not too terribly bad. Usually you can just hand loosen them, and then you're good to go. There we go. Grab this other bolt one off camera. All right, here we go. Simple Allen bolt. Bars on here. I can already tell the front of this bike feels a little bit more heavier than my Cruiser because it's got the chromoly bars on it, and it's got the chromoly fork. Whereas with my Cruiser, I of course updated that to a carbon fork and lighter weight bars. So there's going to be a little bit of a transition of just getting used to what this bike feels like on the track versus the Cruiser, just based on weight alone. Hopefully there won't be too much of a transition on it. See if I can get things started here and let's get things sort of tightened down a little bit. You always want to do these in the star pattern and kind of offset the way you tighten these. That way, if you ever have any issues, you can just go right back and loosen it up real easily. Make sure you get this on here just to get it started. All right, this here. Not very much to it, as you guys can see. Let me see, get this tightened down a little bit. I will have to go back and make sure this is all even so I get things in a better position. There we go. Okay, that's on there for now. Just simple. I'll have to go back and of course I'll tighten that up after this video before we go to the track and just make some fine-tuning adjustments and tweaks to it. Let's see if we can get the rest of this covering off of here at least. Go back to where I put my scissors. Let's see here. That way you guys get a better look at the color. Really get a good idea of this really good looking blue-gray color that's on this frame. Now I've seen this bike out at the track with a few people that already have this bike this year, and it's just a really good looking piece when it's up there on the gate and when it's on track. It has a really good presence. Chase, of course, I've been really enjoyed over the past couple of years. That's why I've stuck with them. I'm not sponsored by these guys in any means. They do not pay me for this. This is all simply for you guys to check this out. So I just happen to like the product. It works for me, so it may not necessarily work for you, but with my height, my size, my riding ability, and what I've had over the past couple of years with, of course, my cruiser bike, I decided to stick with the same brand because I know the brand. So for me, it's just more about brand recognition and, of course, coming back and maintaining myself as a customer. Now, I was able to get this through the guys at BRG Racing Group or BMX Racing Group, which is also online at brgstore.com. Of course, I'll have a link at the bottom of this video so that you guys can see that and find the bike on there if you like the way this looks. And it's really pretty simple. Let me see if I can get more of this off. There we go. Let's see here. There we go. Good looking set of forks that match the rest of the bike. Of course, it's got these really good looking graphics all through it. Still got to put the pedals on it. I got to get the front wheel on it, of course. I'm going to make a few little adjustments. I've even got my number for the year ready to go. My district number 79, which if you guys notice on my other social media posts, I grabbed this plate earlier in the year because I knew eventually I was going to have to get on a 20-inch. I went ahead and got this to match it, so it's a pretty close match with the blue, a little bit of blue-gray in there, and it kind of matches some of the other blue that's in the graphics. So I'm going to get this thing finally assembled. I wanted you guys to get a quick look at it at least. Pretty good looking bike. I can't wait to ride it and get it out on track. I'm going to put things together, go get a few test spins around the neighborhood here just to make sure everything's good to go, and then get out to the racetrack and give you guys some test laps and let you see what it's like with a brand new bike, and then of course go back and we're going to review a little bit more and see what it's like to go from my cruiser to a class bike and the differences between the two and the transition of the both. So I'm going to get this buttoned up, we're going to get out to the racetrack, so when you get back to the next part of this video, we'll be out riding. All right, guys, so we just got done out here at San Diego BMX on a little bit of a practice night for me. It is a local race night for these guys, but I'm just practicing to get used to the bike. A little bit of a transition between the cruiser bike and the class bike for sure, with the different wheel size that take a little bit of getting used to. There's some video that you guys are going to see here coming up of me just taking some practice laps. But all in all, it was a pretty good ride. I mean, with the top two being about the same size, there wasn't too much of a transitional difference from one to the other. The biggest difference, of course, is the gearing on this bike, because it does feel like I'm spinning a little bit more. Essentially, I'm pedaling a lot more because the gearing on this is a lot different than the cruiser. So that'll take a little bit of getting used to. There's some other little odds and ends on the bike that I have, of course, maybe change a little bit. For one, the pedals on the bike don't have a real tall pin on them, and my cruiser bike has a little bit more of a taller pin on the flat pedal, so I might change that out. The grips, of course, feel a little bit different. A little bit of the gearing might change as well. And then the tires, of course, are a little bit different, with them being a 175 in the front and a 160 in the back. It's just a little bit of a different transition through the corner for me. But it's all in good fun. It's all in trying to learn how this bike is, and of course, moving up in class. So I'm gonna let you guys see some laps, and then I'm gonna call it a night. So I hope you guys enjoy the video, and I'll see you guys out on the next one.